Okay guys, I just want to make this video regarding Etheria restart, PvP, the real-time arena, and the dupe situation. For the longest period now, well, I'll say the longest period, throughout this final test beta, there's kind of been this consensus, at least in the circles that I've been in, viewers, I've seen other people talking about it in the community, on Reddit as well, on Twitter, that dupes don't actually affect the real-time arena in Etheria restart. Now, I want to put out a little bit of a, I guess, an apology myself here in the fact that I kind of parroted that consensus myself without actually really looking into it, which I typically tend to do, right? It was just that I'd heard it from so many different angles. It's one of those things. Now, I'm not moving responsibility here, that I was just like, oh, okay, I guess that it doesn't affect PvP. Not quite the case. That's not quite the case. Now, I'm not trying to blame the developers here. I'm not trying to blame anybody in the community. This is on me, and I guess it's on us all if we kind of just assume this. But I will say that, obviously, you know, you want the community management side of things in the game to maybe potentially pick up on this and maybe get some information out there. And this appears to be what they've done. So props to the developers here. I do think we're going to get a proper full-on announcement, whether that's going to be in the Discord or that's going to be coming on a more public-facing thing like Twitter or somewhere else. Who knows? But let's have a little look at this post here from one of the staff members over in the Etheria restart Discord here, guys, because I think it's worth getting out there, because I think it's something the community should know about, whether you're going into the game on launch to play the game, and it's something you should know. One, it's some miscommunication that's going on, you know, it's spread far and wide by the looks of it, and if you're thinking this, it's not true. And two, even if you don't know about this, I think it's worth knowing just to be knowledgeable of the situation going into the game, to heavily incentivize game on the PvP side of things, and this is something worth knowing, right? When I think about it, when the conversation was spreading around that there was no dupes in PvP, I was kind of shocked and thought, W move from the developers, right? But at the same time, I was like, when I think about it, it's kind of weird that they're not, right? You know, it's a game that's heavily incentivizing people to play PvP. Why wouldn't they, you know, try and monetize it? And I'm not even judging the developers for that, right? This is not throwing shade that dupes are a thing, right? But I think it's imperative we get this information out there. So let's dig into this post here and have a conversation about it, shall we? So, hi everyone, please know that we are aware of the ongoing concerns regarding dupes working in RTA. Our official team always stated that dupes would have a minor impact in RTA, as seen in our direct, and that well-optimized free-to-plays would still be able to compete against Wales with good strategy, team building, drafting, countering, etc. But we do understand how this misunderstanding grew into what is now. What it is now. We've always marketed the game as free-to-play friendly, but the narrative definitely got out of hand, and our team hadn't realised how many people thought there would be an absolute zero stat increase in real-time arena. I was one of those, and plenty of people in my community thought the same as well. And it's one of those now. It's like I can't quite put my finger on where I heard it from, but I know I've heard it from multiple places. And I think from other creators as well, in other spaces outside my own community as well. This is, again, the devs have obviously noticed this is something that's just spread without, I guess, where the origin is. I don't know. I haven't got a clue where it's come from, who there's the original people to say that it's not a thing. But the devs have said that this is something they've been open about from the start. And I suppose this is just a bit of a disappointing situation to get into, especially the fact that we had a spending beta. Some people might have spent not really knowing this was a thing in the PvP, which I guess kind of muddies the water to a degree, doesn't it, for some people, which is a shame if people have spent not knowing that, and that's a big turn off for them as well, because I would imagine there were some people would really be liking the fact that dupes weren't a factor in PvP, right? Well, not knowing that they actually were. A lot of people in the community had been saying free-to-play friendly, dupes won't make too big of a difference for a long time before the latest beta, both within the community and from creators. So we thought this was a general understanding. I do see how there was a massive influx of new players in this latest beta coming from creator videos or other communities where the misinformation was being spread as fact. But please understand, it was never intended for this narrative to be pushed, and it snowballed quickly without being realised. During the beta, I did see many players complaining about getting dupes, but I thought it was because stat increases for 1 or 2 dupes were minimal and players needed other units for team variety to progress rather than small stat increases. In hindsight, as the CM, I should have recognised this was also because many of the new players thought dupes were entirely useless in RTA and made a statement clarifying so. Please note that we are actively monitoring the feedback. Our game director Jack and the team will be responding within a few days with an official statement. The intention behind dupes was to not make it extremely unfair like other games in the genre that rely on them, but also not to make them feel entirely useless and discourage players from pulling, which makes sense, right? It's a gacha game at the end of the day, right? You know, they want to encourage people to spend money, and of course you want people who are willing to spend a lot of money for it to feel satisfying for them to do so, right? Whales want to whale on free-to-play players, right? It's just about finding that balance where a good free-to-play player can maybe potentially counter a whale, but the likelihood of that's probably not high, right? You know, let's be honest about things, right? And I'm not even bagging on the game for that, okay? I'm not. I'm genuinely not. Just allow us peasants to have bum fights in the streets away from the whales, and then on those weekend challenges, I don't mind getting chucked in with whales there to get bodied. I'm okay with that. But Monday to Friday, let me scrap it out in the bum fights in the trenches. I'd appreciate that. So we can go back to here. Where are we? To fill the uses, discourage players from pulling. This opens up the ability to max SR, SSR units without dupes much faster than LDs. With dupes, sorry, much faster than LDs, and create unique strategies during different phases of the game's life cycle. The intention is to encourage an actively shifting meta with different power groups and character releases rather than something that will be stale through every phase, while also giving free-to-play players the ability to compete in many different ways. Now, that's good to hear. You do want a shifting meta, right? With a game like this, I don't know if you want necessarily a shifting meta. You want a meta that's spread wide, deep and wide, right? So there's always an ability to kind of counter something, and there's not the best meta, which is always going to happen, right? But at least enough variety where I suppose you can maybe use the ban phases to negate that as much as possible, right? But I think the problem is when you have an ever-shifting meta, is that potentially all that means is new units are the meta, and then you're just chasing that, which I don't think is where we want to go to, right? And that all depends on how many units come out each season as well. One thing I've noticed is that there is confusion about the scaling of dupe stat increases, so I'll make sure that we clarify how it functions, whether it be applied to base stats or if it is a bonus applied to other gear bonuses. Please be patient and wait for our official response. We'll make sure to tag all of you guys that when it is ready. Thank you so much for the support during the beta. There's been so much passion and love in this community, and I hope we can continue to give you a long-lasting fun experience from launch. If you haven't checked out the tournaments from this past weekend, definitely go take a look and get hyped for what's ahead. Now, you know what? I really like this game. I've had a blast playing it. I've had a blast building characters. I do like the meta at the moment. Kraken for the win. Dude, super underutilized, underrated in my opinion. You know, slap a bit of speed on him, get him out there, freezing units. It's really fun. And the PvP's been a blast, you know. As I say, I played in my first little weekend tournament, got to the final, got bodied by a dude who had just an insane team. Way higher level than me as well. I was like at level 18, he was like level 45. But I've had a real bit of fun in playing the real-time PvP and the defense PvP. You know, when you set up your formations and you don't play live, and you can have people attack you and you can attack them kind of things. Really, really enjoyable. There's a lot of things to be positive about in this game, in my opinion. But this obviously is a situation that I don't think anybody wanted to be in, right? And again, I'm not putting all the blame on the developers here at all, right? I think they've at least acknowledged where they could have probably acted a little bit quicker on this and potentially been a little bit clearer as well, which I think's fair. It's good to see that that's a thing, because this is obviously, I don't think it's just come out of a vacuum, right? For players to really think this, I'm not saying that they have put this out there, but it's not been stifled as soon as it started to grow, right? Which obviously, when it's small and it's just a few people talking about it, how do you expect the developers to know, right? But obviously, this has got to content creators like myself. I've parroted this, which I'm a little bit disappointed myself that I didn't double check, you know. I do like to usually do that when it comes to this sort of thing. But I'd heard it from so many different people that I was just like, I fell into it. I was like, well, I guess that's how it is, right? I guess that's how it is, which that's on me as well. I'll take some responsibility. I think as players as well, we've got to take some responsibility, right? And be like, oh, well, I heard it through the grapevine, so it's fact. But at the same time, you know, that's just part of the communities, right? You know, people won't always look things up, and you can't always expect them to. But then at the same time, you know, we've got to take some responsibility as individuals as well, I guess. So, obviously not the best situation for the game, for especially for a paid beta, right? Again, it does muddy the water just a little bit, right? It does muddy the water just a little bit, but also, you know, I guess it puts a little bit of a cloud over there. So hopefully they can get a response out there. I think really what they need to do is, this doesn't need to be like what we've been having going on recently. This is not an Infinity Nikki situation. This is not a Black Beacon situation. The devs don't need to come out on their knees begging for forgiveness. I think they just need to clarify the situation, be open, explain to people what's going on, and I guess try and look into where this has come from as much as possible. Not to go after anybody, but just to see how it happened and why it happened. Because I think that's the most important thing, right? Is not so much the oh, let's find the content creator or the person I'm ready to started spreading this and go after them, but why there was a miscommunication, because there was obviously a miscommunication, right? I think that's what's happened. It's not somebody's been nefarious or malicious. There's been a miscommunication here. Somebody's taken something from the devs and it's kind of just spread. And it's obviously been enough people to get a misconception of what's going on that it's actually spread as wide as it has, right? You know, this is obviously not just a me and my community kind of thing. This is going on to the point where the devs have noticed it, right? If you go into the main section in the Etheria chat in the Discord, there's a lot of people talking about it, and there's a lot of people who thought the dupes weren't actually a factor in PvP, right? So this is, you know, this is on both sides. This is the community, and I think this is a miscommunication on the devs. And at the end of the day, that's their job, to be as open and as clear with their communication as possible. And again, at the same time, it's on us sometimes for not reading, right? You know, not reading, not actually going to the source and double checking, hearing from somebody that something's happened and just kind of, you know, just going with it, basically. So yeah, I think yeah, I think this is a lesson for everybody, right? This is a lesson for everybody in double checking, and a lesson, I guess, for the devs in potentially maybe I don't know, maybe being a bit better in their communication, right? You know, I'm not, and this is not even throwing shade at the devs, right? I'm not even throwing shade at the devs. I'm just trying to look at it from both sides here and how we've got to this situation, right? But I just wanted to put this video out there because, as I say, people have asked me in streams and I've parroted it, right? I've said, well, I've heard that dupes don't affect things, and I've also said, yeah, dupes don't affect things. So I'm part of the misinformation in that regards. And as a content creator who cares about that sort of stuff, I think it's on me to clarify, right? To clarify that that's not the case. Dupes do affect PvP, real-time arena. So when you're playing against somebody who's got dupes, that is going to be taken into account, and that is going to affect the fights that you're getting into. And even if you didn't know about this and you hadn't heard and you're just thinking about getting into the game, I think it's important that you know, right? You know, I think we should have all the information regarding this sort of stuff going into a game such as this. The dupes are affecting PvP. And yeah, this isn't so much about breaking down that. It's more just talking about the, you know, I wanted to put this out there because I've been a person who said the dupes don't affect PvP. It's not true. It's not true. I will keep you guys updated as soon as you find out something from the developers that's concrete and they give us a you know, a thorough explanation or whatever the post is that they come up with, and I'll let you guys know about it, because you know, I think the community is going to want to hear about this, and potentially, unless you're in the Discord, you're probably not knowing what's going on. I was playing Path to Nowhere, man, and a couple of my viewers in the Discord was, have you seen this? And I was like, holy shit, let's actually go over and actually have a look in the Discord, and that's when I decided to take a look at this announcement here. So, of course, this isn't the best situation, and I think there's going to be a lot of people who are probably disappointed, who were thinking that dupes were not affecting a PvP. But again, you know, it's not like the developers lied about that, right? There's just been a miscommunication here. There's been some Chinese whispers, and we've got to where we are now. And there's a large portion of the community thought dupes wouldn't affect PvP. So yeah, I just thought I'd let you guys know that's not the case. They do affect PvP. I guess we'll find out to what extent in the upcoming post from the developers. So I will let you know about that, guys. But yeah, if you found this informative, give it a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all in the next one. Let me know what you think in the comment section as well, guys. Ciao.